Hello and welcome to Thursday's Not Today with me, Emma Caldwell. Thank you for joining us today. Here's what we've got on this show. First, and we're going to be finding out why a statue paying tribute to enslaved women of the Americas and those who contributed to our city's lace industry went on display.
It's about looking at, why would those women come together? Once you start to ask those really searching questions, the story begins to unravel.
We'll have more on that shortly, plus we'll be hearing about an innovative 1-minute video game which is helping with autism diagnoses. The software has been set up by the experts at Nottingham-Trent University and is boasting an 80% success rate. We'll be finding out how shortly. And we've also been speaking to school pupils about the importance of improved wellbeing during Children's Mental Health Week.
Been doing rap therapy and we wrote like a little rap song. I feel like I can be heard because I struggle with mental health, so it just helps me a lot.
And later on we'll be hearing what people made of yesterday's huge Splendour announcement.
I think it's great that Nottingham has this world-class weekend event, and we've always enjoyed going. 100% I'll be there. Just absolutely fantastic. Whoever brought that lineup together is a superstar.
Can't wait for it. And in sport, we'll be hearing from Forest keeper Matt Sells about how the side are faring at their warm weather camp in Dubai.
It's nice to have to do something together with the team, even to create how do you say, together. So it's really good. Happy to be here.
All that and loads more coming up just for you. But first, researchers at Nottingham-Trent University have developed a new video game that can effectively diagnose autism in just 1 minute. In the study, 183 children aged between 7 and 13 were asked to copy the dance-like movements of a video avatar, and then the computerised assessment of motor imitation, or CAMI, effectively identified the children with a pre-existing autism diagnosis. The study was found to be 80% effective. Dr. Bahar Tunç-Genç is one of the game's leading researchers and she joins me now. This just sounds incredible. 1 minute dancing to an avatar on a video game. Tell us more about it.
Yeah, so we base this tool that we call CAMI, Computerized Assessment of Motor Imitation, as you said, on some of the emerging literature that tells us that besides their social communicative difficulties, one of the things that is quite essential about autism is sensory motor integration difficulties. And if you imagine imitating somebody, you need to perceive what they're doing and then map it onto your body and copy that exactly. And so that is the thing that autistic children tend to have difficulties with or differences in. And so we're trying to basically hone in on that in this tool and see if in a very short time frame, like 1 minute, can we use their performance to predict how likely they are to have autism.
I mean, this to me feels like a giant leap forward. What does this mean for the future of autistic children's development?
So, in terms of the development, we're not making any judgments, right, about whether or not the children should imitate or should not imitate. We're just taking the research that tells us that there are differences here, and so can we use that for good, basically, to try and help autistic children get a diagnosis quicker and more efficiently. And one of the things that we did in this paper was not just compare autism with neurotypical development, but also with ADHD. And we found that there was a 70% discrimination ability between autism and ADHD as well, which I think is massive because autistic children are very different from neurotypical children in a lot of aspects, but they are not that different from children with ADHD in that many aspects. So being able to distinguish those two conditions that tend to co-occur quite a lot is a big success, and we're very excited about that.
And the thing is, it has been a big success, and you're right to feel excited about it. I can only imagine there are people who are watching this at home going, this sounds brilliant, because the autism and ADHD diagnosis seems to be taking an awfully long time, and this is 1 minute. It's exceptional. What are the next steps following the success of this study?
Great question. So at the minute, this tool, which I think you have some videos of that you might be showing, It looks all good and well, but it is a little clunky. It's still a research tool. It's not
the video now.
Perfect. It's not exactly ready to be rolled out in clinics and so on. So that is basically what we're working on right now, because at the minute it requires some specialized cameras and some special software to process all the motion data that the children do while they're imitating. And we're trying to streamline that process as much as we can, so that there's hopefully in the future a tool that clinicians or parents can just upload a video of their child doing the moves and get an estimate. Now, I should emphasize though that we don't see this tool as a kind of replacement of clinical diagnosis. We just hope that it would be a good supplement, as you said, because there's a lot of wait times and difficulties with diagnosis. So if something like this could help with speeding things up in a more effective way, in an evidence-based way, that would be brilliant. So we see that as a complementary method to the existing methods.
I mean, it really would. And why is it important to get an autism diagnosis at a young age?
It's mainly because of the help and support that you would get. Children with any diagnosis, not just autism, might require certain accommodations in order to thrive in life. That includes the school, that includes their workplaces later on in life, that includes the university life. And that's where a diagnosis becomes handy, really, because then we can create the conditions in which they can fulfill themselves, they can thrive. And we want to make that as efficient as possible, that process as efficient as possible, because on the reverse side, if you don't get diagnosed whilst having a condition, that can cause immense amount of distress in an individual, feelings of maybe not being enough or insufficient and so on. And we don't want to cause any of those mental health effects either.
I just think it sounds a really exciting thing that you're doing. Thank you so much for coming and sharing that. Appreciate it. Excuse me. Right, moving on now, and a new statue was unveiled at the Broadmarsh Green Heart today. Standing in this place was commissioned by the National Justice Museum and depicts two women, one a textile worker from the East Midlands and the other an enslaved woman working the cotton fields of America. It's the first in the UK to depict the ties, hoping to address the history of slavery and give a face to thousands of unnamed women who contributed to the development of the region and industrial Britain. Izzy Fekulak has more.
United by sorrow, strength and resilience. Those are just some of the things that brought women separated by generations together to create art that'll stand tall in the centre of our city. Today, standing in this place was officially unveiled at the Broadmarsh's Green Heart. It's here that many gathered to welcome two bronze women to Nottingham. These two ladies mark many firsts for the UK. They recognise the transatlantic ties between the lace makers of the East Midlands and the enslaved women who worked on the cotton fields of America and the Caribbean in the 18th and 19th centuries. But they also signify the often overlooked contribution women made to Britain's Industrial Revolution. The piece is just one of only 5% of statues nationally that represent non-royal women. It was commissioned by the National Justice Museum and created by local sculptor Rachel Carter. That's in collaboration with community history group The Legacy Makers, who want to have more women and women of colour represented in public art. For Rachel Carter, the statue was the perfect way to honour the legacy of thousands of ladies and her ancestors that helped build Nottingham's most important industry.
You know, the title comes from walking around the city and retracing the steps of my ancestors. You know, I can walk in through Weekday Cross and think about my 2 times great grandmother who was a lace runner. So the Legacy Makers and I have been on this amazing journey for 3 years, and to see it come to fruition now is just amazing.
The event was a momentous occasion for the group, ending years of work to make the unrepresented history of thousands of women become more visible in the city.
So it's about looking at, you know, what would those women, why would those women come together? What is this cotton industry about? Once you start to ask those really searching questions, the story begins to unravel, and why this connection is so important to realise, acknowledge and celebrate.
And for the National Justice Museum, now custodian to its first ever public art exhibit, the Green Heart will provide the perfect space for people to come face to face with the past.
It's better that it's actually in a more open public space for people to when they're commuting into Nottingham, when they're leaving Nottingham, when they're coming in to visit Nottingham for the first time. It's actually going to be something they're going to be walking past on a day-to-day basis. So it's in an ideal location for people to view.
The sculpture now stands in the city centre as a significant and solid voice. It's here to educate more people about the unspoken stories of female exploitation and endurance embedded into the history of our region. Izzy Fekulak for Notts TV.
Right, let's take a look at some more of your news headlines first. And failures by various health organisations were raised but not acted on for years before Nottingham attacker Valdo Calicane's issues came to light. That's according to Councillor Georgia Power, who scrutinises city health services and says there's been long-standing issues which predate and are separate to the killer's care. Her remarks come after the families of Calicane's victims called for a public inquiry following a damning report into failings treating his paranoid schizophrenia. Several knots in NHS organisations have apologised and say recommendations are being actioned. Next, and 2 men have been charged after another man was stabbed in a Morrison's car park. A man in his 20s was found with stab wounds at the supermarket on Kings Road in Newark just after 10:30 on Monday evening. Police have now charged an 18-year-old Louis McAnally and Sean Saunders, both of Kings Road, with committing GBH with intent and possessing a weapon. They appeared in Nottingham Magistrates Court on Wednesday and were remanded into custody until a Crown Court appearance next month. Right, time for a break now, but don't go anywhere. Join us after the break because we'll be hearing more from an event supporting school pupils with their mental health. Also finding out how fundraising projects at the Victoria Centre will help Nottinghamshire Hospice. We'll be back in a sec. Hello, welcome back to Thursday's show with me, Emma Caldwell. Thank you for joining us. Here's what's happening in Notts today. First, and the medical director of a Notts hospital trust says the recent winter months have been some of the most difficult he's ever experienced. Dr Simon Rowe, who's acting director of Sherwood Forest Hospitals Trust, said the period between October and December was amongst the hardest he's seen in emergency care for 30 years. The trust runs Kingsmill, Newark and Mansfield Community Hospitals and saw a 7% rise in emergency care attendance compared with the same period a year earlier. Next, and the leader of Nottingham City Council says the authority has turned a corner over the last year and is getting its finances back on track. The council effectively declared bankruptcy in November 2023 and has been making cuts and service changes to both balancing its books and pay back government support since then. And that's all whilst being monitored by government commissioners. But the authority's leader, Gert Khan, says the position is improving, with its gap for next year more than halved and the rest coming from government help. OK, we're moving from the city to the county council now as we look at events in Notts to mark Children's Mental Health Week. It's a national event encouraging youngsters to talk in more detail about the problems affecting their lives, with workshops held this week by the organisation Not Alone. The support organisation is run alongside Nottinghamshire County Council and held 2 live events this week, firstly with primary and then with secondary school pupils at the YMCA Centre in Newark. Daisy Jameson was at the secondary school event and has more.
You're amazing, you can do it. You're amazing, you can. Yeah. You're amazing, you can. That's right.
Growing up comes with its fair share of challenges, whether it's trying to fit in, finding new friends, or learning how to adapt in a social media age. And this week, all those issues have been in the spotlight to mark Children's Mental Health Awareness Week. Here in Notts, the YMCA Community and Activity Village in Newark became home to an array of wellbeing workshops. That involved mental health support website Not Alone running live events to help local children discover what help there is for them in our county. This year's 2 events saw 700 young minds get involved in both physical and mindful activities to climb towards a better future. Doctors Maddie Papula and Orla Green are the educational psychologists behind Not Alone. They created the website on the back of young people's voices to provide clear and straightforward steps to a better mental health.
It's Children's Mental Health Week and the theme is Know Yourself, Grow Yourself, and that is all about finding out what you're interested in, what makes you feel good. So usually if we think about mental health, people think about negative things like worry, anxiety. We want to have the conversation focused on what helps positive mental health, what helps you feel good, what helps you cope when times are tough.
The event highlights how different building blocks can work to enhance a child's mental health, using tools such as singing, dancing, clip and climb, poetry and art. But what did those taking part think to it all?
I feel like I can be heard because I struggle with mental health, so it just helps me a lot. I've been doing rap therapy and we wrote a little rap song.
It was kind of on the base of us both sharing the same school counsellor. We dedicated it to her because she's been helping us with loads of stuff that sometimes we find hard to express.
This year also marked Romy Woodward's second time performing at Not Alone Live. She says mental health is both important and inspiring to her.
You never know what's going in people's heads, and it's something that has to be talked about openly, otherwise it just eats up at you inside. I definitely write about it. A lot of my songs are quite heavy subjects. I like using my songs to spread awareness on those topics.
Children's Mental Health Awareness Week may be coming to a close, but events like these remind us support for young minds remains both online and offline all year long.
You are not alone!
Daisy Jameson for Knots TV.
Next, the Victoria Centre has just announced that with your help, it raised a remarkable £13,347 for Nottinghamshire Hospice in 2024. The hospice was the shopping centre's charity of choice last year, and the funds raised will go towards palliative and end-of-life care services that's provided to individuals and families across the county. And the money comes at a time when the hospice warns of job cuts unless national funding crisis is resolved. And joining me now is Glenn Staniforth from the Victoria Centre and Claire Herrick from Nottinghamshire Hospice. Thank you both for joining me today. Glenn, let's start with you. The hospice was the shopping centre's charity of choice. How do you choose your charity each year?
It's really important to us. We reach out to our team. All our team live in a local community, local needs, and we literally go out to the team, pick the top 5 choices, get the team to vote on it, and Nottingham Hospice was the winner.
Excellent. So tell us a little bit more about Nottingham Hospice and what you do.
So Nottinghamshire Hospice provide end-of-life care to people across the whole of Nottinghamshire. We are a community-based service, so we have no inpatient beds at the hospice itself, but our care teams are out across the whole county supporting people at the end of their life in their own homes. We know that the majority of people, if given the choice, want to die at home. So our service is completely tailored to try and enable that for as many people as possible. So that's what we're there to do.
And we know Nottinghamshire Hospice is such an incredible place. I know for a fact there will be people who are watching this now who just know the brilliant work that you've done, and this money makes such a difference. I'll come back to you and ask you about what you're going to do with that money shortly. But Glenn, how did you raise the money?
Raising the money comes in a number of ways for us. I wish we could raise more, and hopefully the customers will raise more for us next year or this year. Emmett Clock is one way, so north of the centre near Starbucks that we opened today is the Emmett Clock. 2p's, 1p's, 10p's, the occasional pound coin gets put in there.
Do you know, this thrills me because I'm from Nottingham, so the Emmett Clock is a huge part of my childhood memories.
It's been there a while.
And I didn't know where I was assuming it went to charity, but it's really nice to know that actually when you drop that money in, that it's going to something good, because I've got to be honest, when I was younger I just thought it went to the Victoria Centre.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. It goes to something very, very worthwhile. We try it, we count it, we bag it, we send it off, we bank it, and that's where a proportion of the money comes from. Other events inside the centre, things like our Christmas events or charitable events that we do. The team carry out events, they did sweet sales and all sorts of things last year. Hopefully this year we can link up a little bit more. We've been talking about it outside and do some events together to support raising some more money for them.
This is brilliant. And the Nordic Brights event as well to raise some money.
Yeah, the Christmas event was just under £5,000 of it, which is great. We put on a festive event every year, and it was an experiential event this year. We asked the customers to make a donation. So it's free for customers, and they enjoy it, keeps them in the centre a little bit longer and gives them something new to do.
That's brilliant. And it's such a great amount of money, just over £13,000. Claire, how will that money be used?
So the funds will be used obviously to fund vital end-of-life service across the city. So it costs approximately £300 a night to provide a full night sit with one of our care teams. So that is a nurse or a palliative care assistant who goes in and actually spends one-to-one time in a patient's home, supports them overnight, giving their loved ones a night's sleep or being with a patient who's alone. And it costs around £300 a night to deliver that. So the funding from the Victoria Centre and the customers has covered approximately 44 nights of care, which is incredible, really incredible.
Because that will genuinely, I mean, you know that will genuinely make a difference to people's lives here in Nottinghamshire. And it comes at a time, we were just talking about this, where funding is really difficult for hospices at the moment. How serious of a problem is it?
It's a big challenge. It is a national issue as well. Nottinghamshire Hospice is not alone in facing a funding challenge at the moment. The hospice sector as a whole is kind of in probably quite a crisis point, I would say. But we have always relied on the wonderful support of our local community, local fundraisers, local businesses who support us. And now more than ever, we need our community to help us and support us, to help us be there for the next 45 years, because we've been here for 45 and we will be here for 45 more. So
well, let's keep our fingers crossed. And you were talking about, you know, the collaboration between you guys is so important. It's Nottinghamshire Hospice, obviously the Victoria Centre is a huge part of Nottingham City Centre. Any plans coming up in 2025?
There are some plans, nothing set in stone yet. We've been talking about everything from how we encourage people to donate more in the clock, to things in terms of fire walking, Lego walking we were talking about earlier.
Watch this space. Want to come round to my house if you want to do Lego walking.
So we want to encourage the customers to get involved in activities that support the charities to help them raise more money this year.
That's brilliant. Claire, how can we find out more about the hospice?
So you can visit the website, which is www.nottshospice.org, and find out how to support us in a variety of ways there.
Amazing. Of course, Victoria Centre, just presumably Victoria Centre.
Come to Victoria Centre. Put some money in the clock, please.
Absolutely. Now I know. It's brilliant. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it. Time now for your sports. And with no Premier League action this weekend, Nottingham Forest have made the trip to Dubai to up the ante on their training for the remainder of the season. The Reds aren't back in action until next Tuesday when they face League One side Exeter City in the FA Cup fourth round. In a recent interview whilst the squad train in the heavy Dubai heat, informed keeper Matt Sells says there is a real unity amongst the squad and they're fully focused on getting as many wins as they can for the rest of the campaign.
It's nice to have to do something together with the team, even to create how do you say, like, yeah, together. So it's really good. Happy to be here. It was good to bounce back after the loss the week before. So we show mentality because you cannot win all the games. So then it's important to bounce back, and we did it. So really happy about the result, about the game, and we just need to continue 14 games more. So try to do everything to finish as high as possible.
And we're sticking with Forest. There's talks England could play at the City Ground for the first time in more than 80 years. The world-famous ground is being considered to host the Three Lions senior team in June when Thomas Tuchel's side take on Senegal in an end-of-season friendly. It would be the first time the stadium has hosted an England men's international match since 1941 in what was a wartime friendly with Wales. The FA is looking away from Wembley for some of the games this summer due to events like Oasis and Coldplay gigs. And we've got more sports, of course, in tomorrow's show, including County Stags and Panthers. But right now it's time for your photo of the day. And this lovely little shot, look at that, of a fairy garden visitor taken by Steve Florinsky on Instagram. Looking at your weather now, and tonight we'll see temperatures drop to 2 degrees. Tomorrow will be a cloudy day throughout with highs of 5 and lows of 2. Lastly, Saturday will be a cloudy one too with highs of 6 in the early afternoon with temperatures dropping to 3 in the evening. Time for another short break now, but when we come back, we're going to be hearing about a new project getting people in Netherfield to create a new mural in the town. All that and more on the way. Hello, welcome back to Nots Today with me, Emma Caldwell. I hope you're doing well. Here's some more of your news headlines this Thursday. First, and car parking charges at council-run sites in Nottingham won't be going up from April. Nottingham City Council has confirmed parking rates at its 6 city centre sites will remain the same for the upcoming financial year, as will on-street parking rates too. That'll mean drivers using car parks like Broadmarsh, the Lace Market car park and Trinity Square not paying more to use the city centre facilities. Council budget papers say the move is to protect people against extra financial pressure. Next, and Nottinghamshire County Council has approved a rise in the cost of paid-for school dinners. School meals in council-run facilities are currently £2.95, but a plan approved today will see each meal increased by 21 pence to £3.16. It's part of a major change to catering services in the county, which will help meet rising demand and costs, with families using the meals to pay £1.05 more per child every week from April the 1st. That's after Cabinet members backed the move today. Time for your What's On Guide, where we give you a little rundown of what you can get up to tonight on this fine Thursday evening. Kicking it off, and if you're single and raring to mingle, then why not head to the Mixed Age Singles Speed Dating Night. It's at the Botanist on Bridgeford Road in West Bridgeford. Starts at 7 p.m, tickets are £16 and there's still some available for that one, which, let's face it, could end up being a pretty low price for love, and it's Valentine's Day next Friday, isn't it? Alternatively, if you are more taken than Liam Neeson's classic film, then steer clear of that one, and you can get to the Rock City for their Tune Night with 2-for-1 drinks and silent disco too. I love a silent disco. Doors for that one open at 10. And last but by no means least, you can go to the Nottingham Central Library for an evening with photographer Stuart Lyndon Rhodes, and tickets are still on sale on Eventbrite. Whatever you do, have a great day. Next, a new initiative to get residents in Netherfield creative and to try and learn new skills is well underway. They're working together to complete a large mosaic mural which will be placed permanently in Jackie Bell's Park for all to admire. It's part of an art project supported by the UK Government's Shared Prosperity funding. The mural was designed by a local artist and incorporates people's fond memories and associations with the local area, as well as the history behind the town, which of course was once the home to the largest fright yard in Europe. And to tell us about this exciting news is Gedling Borough Council leader John Clark, and he joins me now. John, thank you so much for joining us. So tell us a little bit more about this initiative.
Well, it's really reminding people, I suppose, from the years gone past. If you think that this was the largest marshalling yard in Europe, so there'll be hundreds of steam engines there, which are great if you like. I come from Derby, so there's steam engines. And the history, and also textile history. So that, people are putting together a mosaic there. And I'm hopeful that, well, normally people don't bother with things like that. We see things graffitied, etc. And in Jackie Bell's Park, it's got a little bit of graffiti, but I think it'll be safe enough there. We've also got an example of that. Is in front of the Co-op. There's been a mosaic there for some years now. It's got 1 or 2 tiles that have probably broken a little bit, but that's wear and tear. So I'm quite pleased that people are getting involved. The young people are being told about the past, and the older people are telling the young people about the past, and we've got a wonderful artist that puts it all together, and they get all the little bits and stick them.
Oh, it's really nice. And we're just seeing some pictures here. Yeah, you want people to get involved with this as well, don't you?
Yeah, please. Anybody that's got any knowledge of things that went off, because it goes. The years pass, and we all pass. And those, we need to remind people. There was a tremendous thing in there. The railway side of it, there were so many people involved with keeping those engines running and getting them all steamed up in the morning. You can imagine this morning getting up there and getting it all going. And all that was incredible. The people, if they wanted a job there, had to go to church. So the first question when you were asked there, you've got to go to, what church to go to, my lad, or whatever. And if you didn't say you went to church, you wouldn't get a job.
It's so interesting, the history of all of this as well. Of course, the mural was designed by a local artist as well.
It is a local artist that's doing it. And as you see, it's really hard work. I'm not as delicate as that. But some of that work, when it was put together, I think it's not only rewarding for the people that are doing it, but it's rewarding in general. You're remembering things that have gone past, and people say, well, forget it, that's history. But history is important because it's our heritage.
Absolutely. So where does the funding for something like this come from?
It comes from the SPF, I think I've got that right. Anyway, it's that money that remember old Boris Johnson used to say, we'll spend this every week in in Britain, you know, and we'll say the NHS and everything else. Well, it's a form of that where money's coming from, the money that we would have had from Europe is coming in, that's coming through, and it's going to all councils, but this is government funded at the moment, so there's a change of government, so it's this government that's funded at this time.
And why has the location of the mural to be displayed? Where did Jackie Bell's Park, why was that one picked?
I think that we're looking, I mean, we're quite successful with parks. We've got so many people that come newly into the area say, how do you manage to get such good parks? And the reason is that we go to, I think it's FCC, it's all from your recycling, so we must encourage people to recycle. And that money is then filtered back and we put it into the parks. That park is next on the list to be done and to be brightened up. It's not as bad as some of the other parks were, but it needs revamping.
And that's it. It's about kind of making that area nicer and better for people to go to. Yeah. There's some other improvements coming to the town as well, I believe.
Yes, we've got the bins and things like that, and so some new railings that have been damaged. Some railings have been damaged. They're going into it. But I think for me, it's civic pride, and you want that. You see all the old footballers go, look at that when I've scored. Well, we'll look at that. You know, this is something to get people really interested and to be proud of. The bins, hopefully, people will use. Hopefully, we've got enough vans to empty all the bins, because believe it or not, we've got more waste bins in Gedling Borough than Westminster Council.
Wow.
So
and it's a funny little thing, because you say about the bins, but actually, if the area looks nicer, people are more likely to use these things.
They will do. It's a bit like schools. When schools were, I used to be a school governor, and when they were run down, paint was falling. I remember being in a school governor's meeting when the ceiling fell in, and all those types of things. Then they got improved, and we got less and less damage. Same with, if you look in the city, at the bus stops, at first when they put the glass bus stops in, chuck a brick, and that's all they did all the time. But then gradually, it's a bit like was it Giuliani in New York, where the breaking windows syndrome, and you kept putting it back, I'm fed up with throwing bricks at that. And gradually people get to put that pride into their area.
And if people want to get involved with this project or just find out more about it, where can they go?
Yeah, I mean, if you go onto our website, there's all the details on there on the council website. But if anybody, they can get in touch with me through the council, and if you're really interested in keeping that going, because there is a lot of things around there. There's a lot of things we've got the lagoons that come down from the mine, which is the most beautiful area, with all the birds that come into there and all the flora and fauna and all the rest of it that goes with it. So there's a lot going off.
Love it. John Clark, leader of Gedling Borough Council. Thank you for joining us. And from one piece of public art to another now, as we take another look at our top story of the day. And that's a new statue which was unveiled at the Broadmarsh Green Heart. Standing in this place was commissioned by the National Justice Museum. It depicts two women, one a textile worker from the East Midlands and the other an enslaved woman working on the cotton fields of America. It's the first time in the UK to depict the ties, and it's hoping to address the history of slavery and give face to thousands of unnamed women who contributed to the development of the region and industrial Britain. Izzy Fekulak has more.
United by sorrow, strength and resilience. Those are just some of the things that brought women separated by generations together to create art that'll stand tall in the centre of our city. Today, standing in this place was officially unveiled at the Broadmarsh's Green Heart. It's here that many gathered to welcome two bronze women to Nottingham. These two ladies mark many firsts for the UK. They recognise the transatlantic ties between the lace makers of the East Midlands and the enslaved women who worked on the cotton fields of America and the Caribbean in the 18th and 19th centuries. But they also signify the often overlooked contribution women made to Britain's Industrial Revolution. The piece is just one of only 5% of statues nationally that represent non-royal women. It was commissioned by the National Justice Museum and created by local sculptor Rachel Carter. That's in collaboration with community history group The Legacy Makers, who want to have more women and women of colour represented in public art. For Rachel Carter, the statue was the perfect way to honour the legacy of thousands of ladies and her ancestors that helped build Nottingham's most important industry.
You know, the title comes from walking around the city and retracing the steps of my ancestors. You know, I can walk in through Weekday Cross and think about my 2 times great grandmother who was a lace runner. So the Legacy Makers and I have been on this amazing journey for 3 years, and to see it come to fruition now is just amazing.
The event was a momentous occasion for the group, ending years of work work to make the unrepresented history of thousands of women become more visible in the city.
So it's about looking at, you know, what would those women, why would those women come together? What is this cotton industry about? Once you start to ask those really searching questions, the story begins to unravel, and why this connection is so important to realise, acknowledge and celebrate.
And for the National Justice Museum, now custodian to its first ever public art exhibit, the Green Heart will provide the perfect space for people to come face to face with the past.
It's better that it's actually in a more open public space for people to, when they're commuting into Nottingham, when they're leaving Nottingham, when they're coming in to visit Nottingham for the first time, it's actually going to be something they're going to be walking past on a day-to-day basis. So it's in an ideal location for people to view.
The sculpture now stands in the city centre as a significant and solid voice. It's here to educate more people about the unspoken stories of female exploitation and endurance embedded into the history of our region. Izzy Fekulak for Notts TV.
Right, let's take a look at some more news headlines now. First, and at least 3 courtrooms at Nottingham Crown Court closed due to problems with heating and leaks. Courtrooms 4, 5 and 9 were shut by the Ministry of Justice last month due to leaks in the courtrooms, whilst the cloud video platform used for video hearings was only available in courtrooms 1, 2, 6 and 7. It's meant that there's been several difficulties getting cases heard at the Canal Street Courthouse, with the Ministry of Justice also saying Crown Court is undergoing essential maintenance for a replacement roof. Next, and a landlord in Ashfield has been fined nearly £20,000 for renting out a rat-infested house with no heating or hot water. The property owner, who lives on the Isle of Man, didn't comply with improvement notices issued by Ashfield District Council. The authority says the landlord rented out 2 properties, including one with no heating, excessive damp and mould, as well as a collapsed ceiling and large infestation of vermin. Fines totalling almost £20,000 were issued by the council relating to both homes after complaints from tenants. All right, it's time for one final break now, but after the ads, we've got local reaction to yesterday's massive Splendour lineup announcement, and sticking with the theme of music, we're also chatting with a local organisation putting on events and gigs in Nottingham. Hello, welcome back to Thursday's show with me, Emma Calder. I hope you're doing well. Here's what's happening in Notts today. First, an air quality management project around Trent Bridge could be lifted following a considerable improvement in recent years. Rushcliffe Cabinet members will discuss the plans at their meeting next week, with assessments of nitrogen dioxide levels over the past 5 years showing improvements around the bridge and on the A52 at Strugglethorpe. Both areas had been subject to air quality management areas where pollution levels were monitored, but these could be revoked at the meeting next week. Next, the Mansfield District Council has approved an almost 3% increase into its portion of council tax bills. The move means people who live in council tax band A homes, which make up more than half of all properties in the district, will pay the authority £4 more per year from April. Band B homes, which make up about 1 in 5 homes, face a £4.66 rise to pay the council. Residents in the district also face other increases from the County Council, the Fire Authority and the police, which are all raising precepts from April. And Gedling Council has confirmed it's withdrawing from a Greater Nottingham housing project so that it can focus on its own local needs. The authority was working with partners in Nottingham, Rushcliffe and Broxtowe to set out a wide-reaching housing strategy, but the Labour-led authority has now revealed it's not contributing to the strategic plan anymore so that it can put its attentions onto its own local plan instead. That's a document setting out where around 609 homes will be built in the borough each year. Now, on yesterday's show and on our website and social media channels too, we brought you the news about this year's Splendour lineup. It'll see Clifton-born singer Jake Bugg returning to Woollerton as a headliner alongside the Kaiser Chiefs, Block Party and Travis too, plus the very brilliant Sophie Ellis-Bextor returning to the stage, as does local actor Vicky McClures, who's bringing her Day Fever and Dementia Choir projects to the festival. But what do people on the streets of our city think to the lineup? Are people ready for some murder on the dance floor, or are those who went last time worried about why it always rains on them? See what we did with that? And we've even got a rendition of Natasha Bedingfield's Unwritten.
I'll be going to see Kaiser Chiefs for sure.
To be fair, I listen to everybody you've just said. That's a good lineup.
Excellent, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds really good. I'd probably go to that.
Yeah, I think it's great that Nottingham has this world-class weekend event, and yeah, we've always enjoyed going. 100% I'll be there. Just absolutely fantastic. Whoever brought that lineup together is a superstar.
I've already seen Cars Juice before, really enjoyed that.
It's not none of them are really my cup of tea, but I've seen a lot of stuff with Kate Nash of her trying to support local artists, which I quite appreciate. So yeah, whether or not I'll go is another matter.
Yeah,
I would definitely go.
I would go.
Yeah.
It's a good lineup.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, Unwritten's just a classic.
Is it like Unwritten, the song that like most people grew up with?
I don't know the artist. I know I know Murder on the Dance Floor, and I know Unwritten, and that's.
Do you want to give us a little rendition?
Yes, he's a great singer. Okay, wait, how does Unwritten start?
Staring at the
blank face before you.
Oh, it's that one. Oh, I do know that.
Yeah.
The fact they're going to love the fact they're on telly singing that. I can't wait. It looks like a great lineup to me. And we've got even more local music for you now, as our next guests are aiming to showcase all the brilliant talents we have right here in Notts. Violet Nights, it helps disadvantaged young people to perform and bring together different communities with music. And with me now is Violet Nights co-founders and event organisers Bart Spachowski and Logan Durant to tell us more about their work. Thank you so much for joining us. So let's start with you, Bart. Tell us more about Violet Nights. Where did it all come from?
I think we started. We're both musicians. We're both musicians, and I think Logan invited me and said, "Do you want to perform?" I was excited. I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." And I think after some time, we decided to continue it and create a community of just performances.
I love that. So, what's the aim? What do you do?
So, I mean, it all started with like us literally connecting through music and finding out that there wasn't really an outlet for like our sound in Nottingham. Specifically. And we just really wanted to like showcase our talents. Because we all make different types of music. So Bart's makes more melodic type of rap, whereas I'm more like what would you say, like just UK rap type stuff. Yeah.
And all our friends, we all do different types, especially Nottingham. Nottingham's very diverse, especially in rap music.
And this is it. So there's loads of collaborations that you guys are doing. How have you found like the talent pool in Nottingham?
It's
incredible. Yeah, it's crazy, but it's all online, to be fair, which is the beauty of the internet. We don't even have to go outside to find these people, but I think what these events do is we take the online and bring it into real life, kind of. Instead of keeping everyone at home.
See, this is the thing, because I agree with you. I think it's amazing that you can find different music artists and find different genres of music that you love online. But actually getting together, like having a night out and going out together and doing that, like you can't beat that, can you?
No, you can't.
And I've noticed that a lot of the artists that come to our shows and end up performing, they do come back and say like they've ended up getting more shows from it, and they've built their confidence to actually go out and like try and get shows themselves as well. So. And
you guys work with lots of disadvantaged young people as well. What kind of difference in? I guess if you don't know where to go and how to find people to perform, it makes a difference speaking to people like you.
100%. I think one of the first things on the first event, Logan said to me and the guys, like, let's keep it inclusive. Let's keep everyone accessible. Let's get everyone on it, no matter what background, whatever. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And how have you found getting gigs in Nottingham? Is it easy to find venues to kind of go, yep, we want to do this and we want to perform, we want to have this night?
It's hard.
It's hard.
Especially with the music we do.
Yeah.
A lot of the people we know and we do is rap music. We obviously try to expand to different genres, but a lot of venues hear rap and they don't like it. They don't like it. But when
do you think that's because there's an image with rap music,
it's a bit stigmatized?
That's what I mean, because actually, weirdly, I've got a 9-year-old who is so, I don't know where it comes from, he's so into rap, but actually that's what all of him and his little friends are doing.
Yeah.
But actually, there was a bit of me that thought, oh, blimey, that's not quite what I want you to get into. But actually, it's such a big genre that you'd think there'd be more of it in Nottingham.
I think we spoke about yesterday comparing rap to punk back in the day.
Yeah,
punk wasn't something, no one really wanted punk in their venues or nothing. Now it's switched. Now they see rap and they see, oh, we don't want that. Because, especially in the UK with drill and the knife crime and everything, but it's different now.
Is it?
Everyone,
I say this as a woman, you know, over your age, let's just put it that way. You know, I'm not going to rap clubs. Is it a good vibe?
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'd say it's a very different vibe from what like the media portrays it to be. I think a lot of like a lot of the time when it comes to UK music, we associate it with drill.
Yeah.
We associate it with like.
Which is nothing wrong with.
There's nothing wrong with drill because I've made drill tracks myself, so I can't really say anything. But like. It's not like there's not everyone just masked up and we're all just there to have a good time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we're all there to showcase our music and really just
bring everyone together.
Yeah.
And that's it. It's bringing communities together who are into that genre of music. So what does 2025 hold for you?
2025, a lot. We want to build more. We want to get charities involved this year as well, especially. But it's always something going on, and we love to expand. Whether it's parties, events, everything. Yeah.
Oh, it sounds great. So if people are interested, because as we were talking about before, you do so many collaborations and stuff, and you say people find all this stuff online. Obviously, we're on YouTube and all the social channels. Yeah. How do people find out more about what you guys do?
So we have the Violet Nights Instagram, which is Violet Nights, and then it's 32. So Violet Nights 222. Yeah. And then obviously you can hit us up as well. So Bart's
BARTZ __ on Instagram.
And then Logan Duran 99. So,
amazing. Yeah. Oh, I think what you're doing is amazing. Thank you so much for coming in and sharing that with us. And I wish you all the success for 2025. You never know, you might get me one of those nights. It is Thursday, and that means a brand new episode of Team Talk released last night over on our YouTube and on our website too. And it's a big one this week with lots to digest for Forres County and Stags, including, you might have heard us talking about it, a 7-0 thrashing of Brighton by the Reds and a continued rough patch, unfortunately, for the Stags. And another win for Notts County too. This week, Mark Shardlow and Charlie McParland were joined by former Reds player and manager Paul Hart to talk all over that and loads more too. Take a look.
The two centre-halves and the goalkeeper are magnificent. And I just look at the team shape there, and he's got it right again, you know. He's not got it wrong very often. He's played 3 at the back, changed it to 3-4-1-2, and he's put Alanga up front with Woods, and he's got Morgan Gibbs-White at number 10, and Morgan Gibbs-White run riot. Yeah. They couldn't handle him for that number 10. They've got Elliot Anderson and Danilo in there. Delighted to see Danilo back. They've got so many good midfield players, Danilo, Dominguez, Elliot Anderson. They've got Sangare coming back. But he's got the system bang on. Instead of going with the 2 wide players and 1 down the middle, or in Gibbs-White at 10 and playing the back 4, he's went 3-4-1-2. And he's just worked again. Yeah. He's got everything right. There's 7 good. They're a wee bit fortunate with the OG, but you need a wee bit luck in this game. And we questioned them last week how they were going to bounce back from the Bournemouth game. There's your answer.
Yeah, and they did it with 37% possession as well. I mean, you guys are coaches at the highest level.
Well, there's a saying, isn't it? It's about scoring goals, and you can pass it up your backside for 3 hours and go nowhere these days. So I think they're fantastic. It reminds me very much of the Nottingham Forest side in the late 70s that went to win 2 European Cups.
Another look at your Thursday photo of the day now, and look at this lovely little shot of a furry garden visitor taken by Steve Klawinski on Instagram. Thank you so much for that. Don't forget, if you want to send us your snaps, we'd love to see them. Time now for your weather, and tonight we'll see temperatures dropping to 2 degrees. Chilly night tonight. Tomorrow will be a cloudy day throughout with highs of 5 and lows of 2. And on Saturday it's going to be a cloudy one too with highs of 6 in the early afternoon. Temperatures dropping to 3 in the evening. Wrap up warm. And that is the end of the show. Thank you as always to all of our guests. I will be back same time tomorrow to do it all over again and guide you into the weekend and the final week of February as well. I cannot believe we've got to that already. Still getting over the fact it's February, not January. But from me and all the team, enjoy the rest of the evening. Whatever it is you're doing, I'll have to see Joseph at the theatre. I'll tell you more about that tomorrow. I'll see you at 5:30 tomorrow. Bye-bye.